Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Christine if you're new here, and I am a homeschooling mom of 3 children. I am currently schooling 2 of them, although they're 5, 3, and 1. So my 3-year-old's doing very part-time preschool. Also, before I get any further into this video, you might hear banging and crashing and drilling and all sorts. My husband's currently working on the lighting in our home and he's up in the ceiling, so if you hear noise, that's what it's about. But today, this video is in collaboration with Jessica from the Waldock Way and Abby from Rooted in Rest. The ladies created this wonderful collaboration for homeschool YouTube mamas to share on a specific topic every month. And so there will be a playlist that goes along with this, and I'll have it linked in the description below. And this month's topic is Morning Basket. And so I'm going to be sharing with you what we do for our version of Morning Basket, what that looks like, and just how to make it work for little children. I love that there are going to be a whole bunch of different variations of doing this, and there's not a one-size-fits-all. It's whatever works for your family, but this is a fun way to get ideas and also sometimes to just give yourself permission to not have to do all the things and just do what works for you. So if you're interested, please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and keep watching. So I do share on my Instagram fairly regularly a little insight into our morning basket and what we do. And it's kind of evolved over the year. I didn't start our school year with morning basket. Our school year starts in February and ends in December. And it's just, sorry, I'm distracted. My husband's walking past the window. It just evolved over the year. I started adding things in. I started the year with very basic subjects, which I wanted to do because I saw this year as kind of like a year of grace to grow and learn and figure out what works for us. And it has been, and it's gone really well. And so, like I said, we didn't start with a morning basket, but we have been doing kind of like our version of a morning basket for the past few months. And I'm going to show you what is in it. It's very basic. And then I will see if I can get some clips in here to sort of show you what we do and how we do it. So the first thing that I have in our morning basket, and I actually only started this formally maybe a couple months ago. This is our family gratitude and prayer journal. And I looked for something like this and I couldn't find one. And so I made one and just printed it and bound it at home. It's really basic, and honestly, you could just use a notebook. But I created just a cute little cover, and then I did the first part to be our gratitude part. So every morning I ask each of my children, except for my littlest because she's barely talking, what they're grateful for. So my 2 older children, I ask them what they're grateful for, and I share something that I'm grateful for, and we write those things down every single day. And I just have a verse at the front that says, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you." And that is our verse for this section of the book. And I'll see. So I just have blank, just lined pages here where I've got the date, and then I just write out the name of the person and then what they're grateful for. And I just think this will be fun to look back on. And even if we don't look back on it, I really just wanted something that instilled the habit of thankfulness and gratefulness in the hearts of my children before we start the day, just to be grateful for what we have. I am determined not to raise entitled children, and so this is one of many things that I'm doing to try and work against that, because I think in today's world you have to make a concerted effort not to raise entitled children because everything is just so readily available. It is difficult to say no sometimes. So there's that. And then I've put a little tabbed page here, and this is our prayer section. And the verse that I chose for that is pray without ceasing, because I feel like this verse just sums up that prayer isn't necessarily a set time every day. It's fine if you do that, but prayer really should be an ongoing conversation throughout your day with the Lord, and that's how I want to teach my children to pray. I think especially as busy mothers, we put this pressure on ourselves to have these big, elaborate, quiet times with the Lord, and while there's nothing wrong with having those expectations and goals, sometimes it can be really, really hard to fit that in when you're in the stage of having little ones and babies and toddlers and things like that. And so I want to give myself permission, and I want to encourage my children to make conversation with the Lord all day long and not have it look like just one specific time per day and tick it off your to-do list, because that's not how we treat any other relationship. I mean, you don't say, okay, I spoke to my spouse once today, that's good, tick that off, like it doesn't work that way. You wouldn't ever do that with your children, like, okay, we've had our conversation, that's done. No, it's supposed to be all day, it's supposed to be natural, and that is how I want to teach my children. And so that's kind of like the whole basis of why I created this. So we've got our prayer journal, and we actually only write down our prayer requests once per week. And so this is almost the exact same page as the gratitude part, but I put little squares down the side so that we could tick them off once they're answered. And we just, once a week, I go around the table with my kids and ask if they have any prayer requests. And like, we have certain things, maybe the members in our church, I know that, there might be an elderly person who's unwell at the time, or someone who's just going through a difficult family situation, whatever. We write those down, and I like to ask my children what their requests are, even if they're just super simple, because God cares about all things. And so they each give me a request or two, and we kind of come up with them as a family. And then every day we pray for those requests that week, and we'll kind of take turns choosing what we're going to pray for and who we're going to pray for. And then the next week we go ahead and make a new list. And sometimes we carry over the previous prayer requests, and sometimes we don't. But that has been working beautifully for us. It's like 10 minutes and we start our day like that. So I've really been enjoying using this. Like I said, I made this, but you can honestly do the same thing with just a basic notebook. So I'm just kind of fancy. And then the next part of our morning basket is set on a loop schedule. So I loop between doing history and doing a Who Was book. So our history curriculum we've used this year is the story of the world. And honestly, the only reason I've used it is because I had it. My mother used this when she was homeschooling myself and my siblings. And I know it's a good curriculum. And I was like, I wasn't planning on doing history this year, but we have it, and it's a read aloud, and it's easy. So we do this, and I just read like a section of a chapter. We're about halfway through the book now. I don't know if we're going to finish it this year or not, but the chapters are kind of split up. I think I have done a review of this before. Have I done a review of this? If I've done a review video of this, I will link it here, and you can check it out. But I just read like a section of a chapter. And the chapters are generally broken up into 2 or 3 sections. And so I just read that section, we talk about it, and my kids have really enjoyed this, and I've been really surprised at how much they have learned from it and how much they've picked up when I don't necessarily think that they're listening. So, yeah, we just do that on a loop. I didn't grab the other book. I knew I was missing one. The other book that we do on a loop is Habit Training. Laying Down the Rails from Simply Charlotte Mason. I've done 2 videos on this. I've done like a review video and I've done a flip through. So I will go ahead and link them for you so you can check those out. But we do habit training. That is the other thing that I have on a loop schedule. And I just, again, do it. The way a loop schedule works is basically you just have I have 3 things written down, and instead of having it like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever days you'd have them set on, I just pick up the next one on the list. And so once we've done history, then I'll move on to habit training, and then say we skipped a day for whatever reason, I just pick up where we left off. And so it's like no stress, and we're getting through things, and it's like a really nice pace. So I've really enjoyed doing that. So we do habit training, and right now we're on the habit of attention. So we've done obedience and truthfulness. Now we're on attention. I really enjoy it. If you haven't heard of it before, and I know habit training sounds like a lot of people like dogs are trained and children aren't trained. Okay, first of all, I'm going to say your kids do get trained. One way or another, they do. I'm not saying we train them or treat them like animals, but they do get trained. And it's up to you whether or not they're trained in great character traits or not so great character traits. So I'm going to put that out there. But regardless of the way it's worded or the name, it's actually really important. And I don't necessarily see it as much as homeschooling as I do as just parenting in general. Like, I want my children to have good character traits. I want them to have strong characters. And so that's something we work on. Again, it's quick and easy. The lessons are short. It's a lot of open discussion. And it's something that just helps me to be more intentional throughout the day with correcting my children, teaching my children, finding teachable moments, that kind of thing. And attention has actually been a really easy one to teach because school, like getting them to pay attention, narrations, things like that, are really good ways of helping to instill that habit. So then the next thing on the looping schedule is Who Was King Tut. This is one that we've been working through, and these are actually really short books, but there's a lot of information in them. So lately we've been reading a chapter, but I haven't always done that. Like if the chapter's a bit long and there's a lot of information, I will break it up. But my kids have really enjoyed this, and it's been helpful because it's gone along quite nicely with our, just dogged myself in the face. It's gone nicely with our history curriculum. I do have two others. I think it's Thomas Edison and Albert Einstein, I think I got. So we'll move on to those once I finish this. But I didn't like intentionally plan for this to go along with our history, but it just does, and it works well. And there are so many of these you could pick. You could totally pair it up with whatever you're working on in school. But this has been a fun thing to just sort of have on a loop. And then finally, something that we do not have a loop and something that we do every school day is a read aloud, and it's not related to anything. This year, we have mostly worked through the Little House on the Prairie series, and my children have loved it. Like, they were outside for about 5 hours yesterday playing Ma and Pa. My son hooked up this like wagon thing we have to his trike and was riding around. That was like his horse and carriage. It was so sweet. So that's what we have been doing. I got on the banks of Plum Creek here at the moment because this is a physical copy I've got. We're actually up to, what is it, on the shores of Silver Lake, or by the shores of Silver Lake, something like that. I don't have the physical copy of it. I got it out from the library, the ebook, and so I've been reading it off of my iPad. But generally speaking, I read about a chapter a day. If the kids go, Mom, please read more, then I'll read more. I basically read until they're getting a bit fatigued and they just want to get down and go do whatever. And something that I didn't mention, and I probably should have mentioned right at the beginning, is that we do our morning basket over breakfast. So it's just the easiest way for me to keep my kids' attention. They're like bright and ready for the day, and their minds are ready to listen. It's a good time for them to concentrate. And it's also just a reminder for me, because that's usually like a really busy part of our day, to just sit down and be with my kids for a bit. So we do that morning. I would say it probably takes us 20 minutes. Maybe 30 at most, but usually only about 20 minutes, depending on which thing we're looping through on the day. But yeah, probably about 20 minutes, and my kids really enjoy it. I love it. And so we do that, and then they have like a big break before we actually sit down and do like book work. So that is our morning basket. I'm excited for next year because we have like different curriculum that we're adding in next year, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's one in particular I'm really, really excited about and excited to share with you guys. I am going to be doing a video on it hopefully in the next few months. I don't know. I don't have like a set time, but I'm still like sourcing my stuff for next year. Obviously, I said our school year starts in February, so it's a while away, but because I've got to order books from overseas, I've kind of got to really get myself organized. So, all that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was encouraging and insightful, and just remember that your homeschool does not have to look like anybody else's. Do what works for you. Do what works for your kids. This is something we worked up to. It was not something we started the year with. And it takes time for little minds to get used to sitting down and listening and paying attention. So give your children grace and give yourself grace. And that is all I have to say. So thank you so much for watching. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing